Hey guys, Chris Clothier here with the Grind Podcast, coming to you on another Friday afternoon. I'm having fun. Hopefully you've had a great week. I'm ready to end the week, wrap it up here today with a recording of the Grind Podcast to kind of get started off on a great weekend. Hopefully you're in the same position. We're going to be together for about 15 minutes here, and I'm going to share some, ideas, concepts, whatever, that I feel like talking about here today. I've got a special one on board to me. And I'm going to talk to you about, this is kind of one of those touchy topics of when somebody says something negative about you online, whether it's on an online forum, whether it is a review, whether it is, going into Google or Yelp or wherever else, wherever somebody might say something about your business. For me in particular, it's if somebody talks about us on Bigger Pockets, the largest real estate website in the world, where, and it happens to be negative. Okay. How do we as business owners respond? How do we handle those scenarios? And I'm going to give you 3 very specific steps that I developed on the way that we handle those. And then I'm going to tell you a couple of things that you as a business owner really want to pay attention to. And if you're a real estate investor listening here today and wondering, how do I get started? Do I like REI Nation? Are they a good company? Maybe you don't want to be in the markets we're in. How do I pick another good company? Look, I'm going to give you some real key insights into how we operate, and this is going to help you understand, in my opinion, what you need to look for in somebody else. Should you not want to do business with us, how do you determine are these good people or not? And look, I'm going to be straight up with you. I happen to think that we're pretty damn good people. Integrity is the highest thing for us. So let me get into this 3 steps process and kind of lay the groundwork for you. Bigger Pockets, biggest real estate website in the world. Every once in a while, somebody will go onto Bigger Pockets and leave a review of our company or a outline of their experience or ask a question that, look, no matter how you slice it, it comes across as being negative. And there's a big reason for that everybody's got to understand. If you're a business owner, understand this right now. Anything said on this little silver box right here is 2-dimensional. No matter how many exclamation points, no matter if it's bolded or if it's all capitalized or underlined, whatever, you really do not know, don't have a lot of clues to know exactly what someone's intent is. You can get some of it from the way they write stuff and what they say, but you never know all of their intent. So, understand that when something is posted about you or your company online, you have to be very intentional with the way you approach it. And here's the 3 steps I take. I'm going to give them to you and I'm going to walk you through them. So, number 1, when somebody writes something about the experience they had with your company, the first thing you need to do is get all of the stakeholders together. In my company, recently, somebody wrote a forum post about our company and their experience with us. And I immediately got together, and let me tell you on the front end too, it was one of those rare times when it was negative. All right. So it really called for a thorough looking into on our side. So the first thing I did was get all the stakeholders together. And what do I mean by that? So I got together everybody that has ever spoken or worked with this particular client, from helping them pick out houses to their customer service agent, talking to them monthly, anybody at the property management company that may have spoken with them, the head of customer service and the head of property management. I got everybody together and said, okay, let's talk about this for a second. Look at the review, fill me in. And from there, I sent everybody out to do a job. Their job was go get me all of the relevant facts, information, data. I need everything pertaining to this portfolio, all the houses that this particular person owned, all the experiences that they had. And when I say I wanted the detail, I wanted every detail. Because we use Salesforce, we have the ability to track and record and do a lot of things, provided we use it correctly. So I said, I want to know every single phone call that we've ever made to this particular investor. I want to know the notes that we keep in there. How were the interactions? Were they good? Were they bad? Did he even bother to answer the phone? Again, I've been doing this a long time, so I know kind of some of the questions to ask, but I want them, rather than lead them to a conclusion, I want them to bring me the data and the facts about what is going on here to me. That's number one. And I will tell you this, that when you read somebody's posting about you online, as we did in this case, the particular poster in this case, they were not happy with us. And in fact, they went so far as to call our company untrustworthy. And, you know, here I am talking about it online, and you'll understand why in the end. Most people will be like, why would you even bring that up? You know, that's such a negative. No. When somebody writes that, look, I need to know. I need to dig in and find out what the heck is going on, because that's number one. I don't know if there's anything worse you could say about my family and our company than to say that we're untrustworthy. That's like a stab. So I need to make sure, and I don't want to assume. So I need to make sure that everybody's on top of everything and that we have all the data and the facts together. I am expecting them to come back to me and say, this person had a very bad experience. We failed to call them at this point. Maybe they had a very high move out. Maybe they had, you know, depending on what your business is, whatever you can think of as a bad experience, you think that that's what I'm going to see when the data comes in. Okay. That was my expectation after reading this online review. I was like, so we may have dropped the ball. I need to be prepared with all the information that when it all comes back to me, we may have dropped the ball. I need to be prepared for that mentally. So that's what I'm doing. I read this, I read the review, I bring all the stakeholders together, I send them out with a job to do and tell them to come back to me when we're ready to get back together. So that's step one. I get everyone together and I make sure that they go get every relevant fact that we need for me to make a proper response to the owner or to my client, the customer. So I think that should be everyone's first step. No overreaction. Don't jump in and start, power typing away. Get all the information that you need, regardless of what they say. Okay. And regardless of if you already know that this is a bunch of malarkey, doesn't matter. Wait. Get all the information first. Number two, and this is very, very critical. When all the information comes in, I sit down with it. And this past week, I spent about 6 hours when all the information came in crafting what our response was going to be as a company. Now, I want you to hear me out here. I'm crafting our response, but I'm not posting it. I learned a long time in a book called Lincoln on Leadership. Get that book if you want to read a fantastic book on how to, I'm going to call it emotional intelligence. This was back before they even knew what the hell that was, that he understood. He understood the need for levity. And so something I read in that book was Lincoln, if he had an issue with somebody, he would sit down and write them a letter. And he would put the letter in the top, drawer of his desk. He may let his wife or somebody else read it, kind of give him their thoughts. But he always sleeps on it and he leaves it in that drawer. And then he'll come back to it at a later time and he'll pull the letter out. And now that he's had time to reflect on what his response was going to be, he'll see, do I still feel the same way? If so, I'm going to send this letter. If not, which was usually the case, he tosses it in the fireplace. That way he practiced like expressing himself and gathering his thoughts before he actually went and did them. That's what we're doing here in step 2. For me, I craft our response. I get, again, people I trust around me. That would be number one, a fellow executive, Brett Clothier, another owner of the company here with me. The head of our customer service department, the head of our property management company, I brought them in and said, okay, I'm going to write this response and I want you guys to kind of tell me, am I on the right track here? Am I taking all the relevant facts and data and am I crafting the right response to this client? In this case, okay, I think that the client was absent some key information that he needed to write, the review he wrote about his experience with our company. There was a lot of circumstances in this particular case that I just think that he had this feeling maybe he was having a bad day, maybe, he was reacting to something else, but what he was writing, what he was so passionate about and upset about were things that were, for lack of a better way to put it, just a bunch of nothing burgers. And his actual experience, his actual return was off the charts. So this doesn't always happen, but I'm reviewing this saying, wow, the experience he had from my vantage point and the experience he wrote about, these are two really, really different things. So I had to be very, very careful with the way I wanted to respond. It was critical that I got it just right. And so I wrote this over a 6-hour period multiple times, fact checking everything I was writing, running it past additional team members, making sure I took the right approach. And now I'll get to exactly what the response was here in 1 second, okay? Just for everybody that may be interested or want to know exactly what that response was. But I needed to make sure that it was all correct. And here's where it gets really, really critical. I put it off to the side. This is not something that I would turn around and go post back online. In my scenario, you may be forced to because you may not have interactions with all your clients, but for us, we do. So now that I have my response, now that I have all the facts and relevant information in step 2, step 3 is communicating. I actually pick up the phone and call every client before I write something online in response to anything that somebody may say. And again, in this scenario, this was a negative review of an experience with our company. So I go out of my way to make it a point. I want to speak with this person on the phone. Now I have my response here, so I can just, I have all the information that I need. I can have an intelligent conversation and have one that makes sense, but I want to understand where that person is coming from. I want to understand, especially, and here's why, because if I have a good conversation with them, it may change the approach I'm going to make. Now my response online may be, thank you very much for having a conversation with me. It means a lot that we could get to the bottom and find out where, what was going on. And almost in every scenario, I can get an owner or a person who leaves a review to come back over the top and say, yeah, I appreciate that conversation too. And, I may have viewed this wrong, or I may have viewed that wrong in a scenario like this. In this case, he and I didn't get on the phone. He didn't take my call and he didn't return my call. And that's okay. That's the investor's prerogative. But it enabled me to be able to take my response and then post it online with the comments that I have reached out to you. I have tried to speak with you one-on-one, but I can't let something negative sit out here without a response from me. Now, I have also had scenarios come up that are different than this one, where somebody left a negative review and we made a mistake, maybe multiple mistakes. And in all those scenarios, when I speak to the client, I listen. I give them the chance to forget about the online forums. Tell me what's going on. How can I improve for other investors? Is there anything I need to do that we call like a make right? Is there something I need to make right with you because did I make a massive mistake with you as an investor that we need to get in and fix? In almost every single scenario, what then occurs is I'm able to go online and say, it was great speaking with you. I take full responsibility for the mistakes that we made and want to make sure I acknowledge that here in public. Okay. But I always want the opportunity to be able to say, thank you for speaking with me on the phone first. I think it's critical. It's that third step where first you want to gather all the facts. Second, you want to prepare your response. And third, you want to make sure that you try and have good interaction with the person first, provided your business allows you to do that. And the reason for that is so that when we do go back online to post a response to something that was said about us, I can craft it in such a way that says, I took the time as an owner to speak with you first. Not only is it critical that we do operate that way, but it's also critical in the eye of the public that they see that we operate that way. Does that make sense? So if you're with me right now, I want you to understand that a lot of times I practice in my 3-step process the idea of I'm not always responding just for this person reading this. I'm responding for everybody that may ever read this. I want to make sure that people know that integrity matters. That when we're wrong, we take responsibility for when we're wrong. When we're not wrong, I didn't go bash. I don't call names. I don't get ugly. I always say thank you for the opportunity to serve you. I try to reach out to you. I'm still available if you'd like to talk. And then we take it from there. I let my response kind of go from there. We've built up such a great reputation on a site like BiggerPockets that I often can go on there and like I said, either defend our team and try and explain, a conversation that I may have had with a client and thank them for having that conversation, kind of explain that, the response may be real subtle, like it's low key, like thanks for talking to me and I'm glad we worked everything through. We'll take responsibility for what we need to take responsibility for, or we'll defend our team where we need to defend our team. Either way, what another viewer is reading is that here's a company that actually cares. They didn't just come on blasting. They didn't ignore it, but they actually have and took time to respond properly. Whether it's a good review, a bad review, if I get to talk to the investor or don't get to talk to the investor or the client, either way, I want to make sure that I take time to follow this very specific process. So we never end up going off the handle. We never end up just writing a post that we have to come back and say, sorry, that was wrong. We never end up letting emotion get involved. It's very, very methodical. It is make sure we're factually correct. Make sure we take responsibility if we are in the wrong. Craft our response either way so that we're prepared to have a good conversation with the client. Then try outreach. Try your best to communicate, with the other party before we go back in and post online. And if you can't, then you go in and post online and you handle it in a way that, again, it's coming from non-emotional. It's coming from, here's just a factual response, and however that is, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, doesn't matter. It's not emotional. All right. So it's critical. And it's probably one of the things that's helped us build our reputation through the years right there, is that we have a way that we do things. And by following that method, following that process, we've been able to really build a great reputation and avoid a lot of the negative online activity that some other companies have to deal with. For us, in the rare instance where it happens, we already know how we're going to respond. We already know how we're going to be prepared to have the conversation, and we already know the steps we have to take. All right. So there it is. Another Grind podcast on a Friday afternoon. I hope that you got something out of that. Feel free to send me any questions. Feel free to send me any responses. Anything that you want to know about it, happy to share it. To the question of why would I talk about a negative review here online today? Well, look, it's pretty simple. If you want to see how we handle negative scenarios, you can go online and find them. There's a few people that didn't have the experience they expected to have, and that's their right. I cannot judge how somebody says they experienced working with our company, but I can make sure that it's factually correct, right? And I can make sure that my company is held in the best light possible, where we take responsibility for our mistakes, but we want credit where we did things right, correct? And that's what this is all about here today. How do we do that and end up with, no matter what the interaction is online, coming out looking the absolute best with our integrity intact the way we want to be as entrepreneurs? Guys, thank you all very much. I do hope you have a great weekend. Send me your comments. Send me your questions. Until we talk again, guys, y'all commit to the grind. We'll see you again.